Does God allow suffering for a purpose? Let me be the first to say that simply believing in God or seeking to follow Jesus does not mean traumatic life experiences disappear or the pain of current or past memories fades. I wish it did. But the truth is, understanding the fullness of our relationship with Him does not mean that we are promised an absence or removal of past pain, as if it never happened. But I refuse. I am not here to tell you or someone that you care for that trauma always is for a purpose, as if this would be the thing that removes the pain. I do not believe that God allowed abuse, trauma, or suffering in someone's life at the cruel hands of others because He needed to teach them something or have them see a big picture of purpose. To do so in my mind is against the nature of God. He is not the author of confusion. He is not the father of lies. He is the way, the truth, and the life. This means that He desires for us to live in wholeness and to enjoy right, healthy relationship with Himself and others. I refuse to believe that He is the author of brokenness. Therefore, I must also conclude that He did not write that script in a way which causes us pain or someone else pain so that He can somehow tell a bigger story and show how great He is. He can accomplish all of that without sin and death being the ink on the pages of a life. He does not need pain and suffering in order to write a beautiful story. Often, when we are working with someone who is in pain, it will be tempting to want to say that there is a reason for the pain. But I do not always know if that is helpful, especially if that person doesn't have a strong relationship with God. I hesitate in my own life to counsel individuals who may not understand the complex nature of God by telling them that God is going to use the pain for purpose. I think it confuses them, as if He authored the pain. God can teach without the backdrop of trauma. He draws us near to Himself without suffering being the main cause. He can mold us for ministry without the sins of others as the prompt. Therefore, I don't tell anyone that they must endure an arduous healing process because He needed to hurt them in order to heal them so that they were ready. I just don't believe He works that way. Instead, I seek to be with them, to model the character of God, to speak of value and build trust and spark hope. To me, it is most important to override any lies about their worth and demonstrate God's love consistently to them. But can God give them a purpose to their pain? I believe God can use anything. And if they would like to seek His voice to find out how He is going to redeem it, then I encourage anyone to do so. Because yes, God can redeem and restore anything. But just because He can fix something does not mean He was the one who broke it or allowed it to happen just so He could show off. I believe broken individuals go farther in their trust of Him if we first release any mental torment of believing that He broke them, when the effects of sin and death are the actual culprits for a great deal of suffering, and God is not the author of either sin or death. And I must also ask, are there ever times when God will bring pain into a life? Yes, there are times in which we will face consequences to our own actions, our own words, choices, and behaviors which align with sin and death. In essence, these are acts of rebellion against God's ways. In these moments, we face discipline or consequences, and they might be painful. But this is not to be confused with trauma, which is induced at the hands of others who are acting in rebellion to His order. We need to guide those who are seeking to love and demonstrate God's character to understand the fact that God will lovingly correct us, but that does not mean that He is punishing us through the cruel actions of others. We need to guide those closest to us to understand our own normal desires to do things which are against God's order. These can sometimes cause us pain. These are the times in which we are mean, unkind, arrogant, hateful, prideful, envious, jealous, rageful, harm others, and so on. Those might cause us pain. These are things in which God will correct us on. Yet He is a good and loving Father who teaches us. It says that it is His kindness that leads us to repentance. This means that despite whatever experiences any of us have had with being punished as kids, God doesn't do it in a way which is cruel. He wants us to come to Him and understand how great His love is to heal us and lead us to be more like Him, kind, compassionate, loving, giving, and generous. We might need to help the individuals that we love to understand that they are also not responsible for the actions of others. This means that if someone sins against them, they cannot own those actions for them. Yet it is our job to do the hard work to heal from the pain that others bring in our lives. But we cannot own somebody else's sin or their wrong choices. This is good news because it means that those that we care for can be free of guilt or shame that they might have attached to their identity based on the choices that others have made against them. But how do we deal with guilt and shame that we might still feel based off of the way other people have treated us? How can we help those that we care for to be able to work through that guilt and shame and see themselves properly and also deal with themselves? Let's continue the discussion on guilt and shame up next.